Okay. Welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have you here with us. For your words have power. Let's share hope. This has been going around, I need to read it. This has been going around the community here in Pueblo County. Right. This has been going around Pueblo County for the last 4 months. And we have an amazing group of people who have shown courage and resiliency and passion for life. And they have come today to inspire hope for your life. Now, I do want you to know that this presentation does contain content that could be considered sensitive in nature. It covers the social and cultural elements associated with the complex issue of substance use. It is not intended to offend, rather to inform. So please use discretion before viewing, and parental discretion is advised. We're talking about stigma. Stigma is the fear of judgment by others, and it is the most commonly reported reason for not seeking treatment for a substance use disorder. There is public stigma, and those are the negative attitudes and beliefs which motivate us to fear, reject, avoid, and discriminate against people. And then there's self-stigma. It's a sense of shame or failure. It's the loss of dignity that lowers the chances of living a healthy and happy life. I want to introduce you to our two storytellers. We have Ann Cabello and Danita Kessick. And we're going to hear first from Ann today about her experience with stigma, substance use, and mental health issues. Thank you, Ann.
Hi, my name is Ann. So I was an addict for a long time, and I kind of stigmatized myself too, thinking that I can't stop. I didn't want to ask for help. And in the community's eyes too, you know, once you're an addict and do all these bad things, you're not capable of changing. I got help from a program helping to get a house, and in that process, when I started, I was 13 days clean. I'm over 2 years clean now, and almost I have everything prepared. I'm just waiting for the state to give me the okay to be a state certified peer recovery coach. I just want people to know that, you know, being an addict is not, it's not a bad thing. You know, you made some bad choices, but you know what? You're a human and you have every right to enjoy your life like I am right now. My life is so wonderful right now. And if you know what, there's so many people, there's agencies, there's people, there's peer coaches. We're peer coaches. We've lived it. We've overcame so many obstacles, and we want to help you overcome your obstacles. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to give you, we're going to listen to you, and between you're talking to us and us talking to you, we're going to help you figure out what you need to do to get clean and stay clean. You know, every addict is somebody's mom, dad, brother, sister. They're a family member. They're human beings. There's somebody out there that loves them, and they just want to be loved. They want a chance. You know, like on my thing, it says, when you're in second grade and somebody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You might get a zookeeper, a policeman, a fireman. Nobody once is going to say, I want to be an addict and destroy my life and destroy my family's life. So I just ask everybody to watch what you tell an addict, because in our harshment and our judgment, it's setting them back worse. You know, show them that you care about them and that you want them to get better. And as our job, we're going to do everything in our power to help them feel that too, and feel that they're worthy of getting on the right track and staying on the right track and sitting in this chair 2 years from now.
Hi, I'm Danita. Thank you, Anne. Stigma is so huge for me. I grew up struggling with mental health, extreme suicidality, and while I struggled with addiction, I don't label myself an addict. Yes, I'm in recovery, but that label is a huge part of the stigma. Because like Anne said, we are not our mistakes. And so it's really easy to lose ourselves in that definition with stigmatizing words such as that. Stigma came in many different faces for me, from my family, from myself, from being in treatment of how it used to be. Mental health was a stigma in itself. To have a diagnosis meant something was extremely wrong with you, when actually the majority of people in the world have a diagnosis. Struggle with some type of mental health, whether it's anxiety or panic attacks, something minute, extreme, doesn't matter. And then prison. Of course, I went to prison, and there was that huge stigma that, you know, rang out from family that I would never be anything, that I would never amount to nothing. And so it's like, where does life go from there? And from there, I've gotten 2 degrees. I've opened my own business. I work for a great company. And while I still struggle with mental health, I don't define myself in any of those aspects. And so that really helps me to empower the next person. You lose yourself in addiction while you're active in addiction, but it definitely can create purpose for you if you let it. And I think that's the biggest part of stigma when it comes to how do we overcome the challenges of stigma. Find the positive in what you've been through rather than letting those negative aspects define who you are and staying stuck in those trenches.
Can I say something more time? Please. So I too also went to prison and stuff like that. And I see so many families turning on their own families because of addiction. But I have, you know what I mean? My family has never turned on me ever. And I thank God every day for them. And so, so she said, you know, going to prison, I couldn't even find an apartment because I was a felon. I didn't have a rental history. Now I've been at my house for over 2 years too. So, you know, just don't give up on yourself. We won't give up on you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd really like to pose a couple of questions to you guys. And Danita, looking back, is there one change that might have prevented your substance use?
To be honest, Barbara, I don't think that there's one change that would have prevented it. Aside from my addictive traits of personality, I grew up being suicidal, and that was a struggle for me before the age of 8. So with that being a thing and self-harm being a thing, the self-medication was huge. So I had been prescribed medication that I was addicted to that had stimulants in it prior to just getting it myself, right? So I don't think there would have been any change that could have prevented that. Any mental health issue that I was born with was there, or that I grew into was there. Way too young for me to say that something could have prevented it.
Same question to you.
I really don't know either. I lived a pretty crazy life, and I think the drugs just kind of made everything tolerable. You know what I mean? So I didn't, you know, it was, my parents weren't going to go and take me to some place so that I could say what was happening behind closed doors. You know what I mean? So I didn't have any, I really couldn't tell you. I don't know.
So it sounds like for both of you, thank you, that substance use began really early.
For me, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, me too.
So again, reflecting, can you find that one thing that was positive that you brought forward into the life that you have now that you learned in active use?
You want me to go? Okay. I don't regret any of my life, to be honest. So I guess really it was a change of perspective for me personally to be able to view everything that I've went through as the positive. That was the positive. I'm a very spiritual person. And so I was meant to walk that path, whether it was to save the person behind me or to save my children as they get older, who are going to get curious about life and have things introduced to them. I'll be able to speak from a place of experience with them. Whether it's to save the next person's life or whatever. Everything that I am now was because of everything that I went through then. So what the world said made me excuse my language, a piece of shit or a worthless person, or when I felt like that, is all 100% a strength now. It serves a purpose. And so I honestly think all of it was a positive. May have not felt like it in the moment, but today it definitely is.
I kind of agree. Like everything that I went through, the thing that I do regret the most is that I wasn't, I didn't make the best choices as a parent or a grandparent. And so, and I think everything that I did in the wrong, the negative, kind of made my kids stronger, that they didn't want that happening. So, I mean, my girls are just, they're awesome. And I like her, I wouldn't be here right now if it wouldn't have been for everything I went through, all the struggles I went through. And just, I seen people having the nice life and smiling and, this and that. And, there became a time that I wanted that. And like I said, my 13 days, I said, I'm going for it. And look at me. I'm on a poster.
You're on Facebook Live.
I'm on Facebook Live. On a poster.
Well, these travel everywhere, so they've been through quite a lot of different places. So
I'm sorry about this.
I don't know why I keep clipping it.
I really want to mirror someone who's not here today, who is a part of this project. And it's Dr. Libby Stout, and she is an addiction psychiatrist. And her message to everyone is that the people who do their work, the people that have faced substance use and mental health challenges in life and done their work and come out the other side are far healthier than those who have never faced these challenges. So hire them is the bottom line. These are amazing people that have strengths and resiliency and beauty that I think shows really clearly through these moments of vulnerability and service and compassion for the rest of us. And I have another question. This is what do you want people, and that's a real general statement, our community members, what do you want them to know about substance use? And this could be answered from a perspective of maybe there's someone in their life that they're concerned about. It could be themselves. It could be an employer who's considering, why should I take a chance? What do you want people to know about substance use?
I think I had said one time, I wish everybody could understand what we go through. And then I took it back, because then they would have been an addict and they would have lived our little mini hell. And you know what I mean? So it's not something that you're going to be able to understand fully, but it's not something that, it was not something that was planned. It's I don't even know how to say it. It's hard, you know what I mean, to live that life. And if somebody is trying to get clean, you know, you need to encourage them. Don't be judgmental towards them, and to have an open heart and an open mind, and let them see, you know, there's good in everybody. We all make bad choices, really bad choices, but there's good in every single person, and you just got to give that person the chance to bring their good out and let them show that they can do it. You know, anybody out there right now, 1 day, 2 days, 13 days, 10 years clean, I'm so proud of you, and keep going.
Thank you. That was beautifully said. I guess I would just remind the world that everybody is capable of change. And everybody that I used to slang dope with, they are now all business owners. So never mind the second chance. I'll just open my own business. They're some of the hardest working people I have ever met in my life. And I work with some of the greatest people, and we all have struggled with substance use. So everybody's capable of change. And sometimes all it takes to help them get to that next level in recovery and stability is a second chance without the judgment.
I feel silly. I've got this dangling mask as my earring. Thank you. What I've learned from talking to 15 of our community members about substance use and developing this presentation, Your Words Have Power, Let's Share Hope, is that every individual has come to substance use from a different path. You know, sometimes it's just purely sampling and trying to be adult-like and doing things that you've seen others do and you want to try. Sometimes it is an accident that has occurred and your physician or your dentist, due to teeth extraction, has prescribed an opioid, and that impacts you negatively in the long term. So I would like you to reflect a little bit on the recovery process and the idea that one way is the only way and is the only true way. What can you tell me about recovery in all of its complexity?
You first.
Me? Okay. She's like, that's Danita's department. Well, I think that's a really, really good question to focus on, because it's my pet peeve. It drives me crazy. There are so many different pathways to recovery. Everybody is unique in their own individual way. The way we felt about our addiction, it was unique to us, even if we've walked the same identical path. The way we felt about it and the way we experienced it internally and the way we've experienced our traumas are all unique. And so the way we heal and the way we change our perspectives and the support factors and all those things in life are unique to those individuals, as well as myself as well. So there's inpatient, there's outpatient, there's prison, there's jail, there's hospitals, there's people who just wake up and they're like, enough is enough. And that is their pathway to recovery. There's the MARC program. That's for those who struggle with their cravings with opioids or alcoholism. People like me who struggle with methamphetamine use, we don't have those type of options. And so our pathway ends with MARC. That's not part of our pathway at all. Same with those who struggle with coke addiction or ecstasy and acid and shrooms. Like there's not, and they're decriminalizing all that stuff. So they're making it way more appealing to just be with it, but there's not the MAT services. And so that part is not part of their pathway like it is for other people. And I'm thankful for that pathway too, because it's helped so many of the people I work with. For myself, I had been in and out of inpatient. I've done at least 6, 7 inpatients. starting from the age of 12 and up. And I got out and I used every single time. And so, of course, with inpatient follows outpatient. And of course, following outpatient comes another violation of probation. And so that's more time in jail. I actually quit while I was on the run. I was facing 8 years prison time. And I was on the run, which was another 6 years I got for escape. And I just woke up one day and I was just tired. High and tired. I went to sleep high, woke up high, and I was just tired. What was the point? And so I got clean for a couple weeks and then realized, well, I can't live a clean life and be on the run as a felon. Those two don't mesh. And so I got majority of my first clean time, my first year and a half in prison, and got out, and I've never looked back, just never looked back. And I was just tired. While I didn't get clean in inpatient or outpatient, I utilize a lot of what I've learned in various programs still to this day. I do not do meetings. They are triggers for me, but meetings help a lot of my clients, and I even teach one. So it's different. It's different for everybody. What worked for me may have never worked for her, but what works for her, right? And so we don't knock it. We have an understanding that this is a collective whole. And so when we're looking at recovery and what's going to be beneficial, we want to look at people as a collective whole, not just, I don't look at only recovering meth addicts because I struggled with meth. I want to help those who struggle with opiates and those who struggle with acid and those who say, hey, I only smoke weed, but for me, that's a problem, and help them find what works for them, because that's going to be different than what I've known too, right? And so looking at it as a collective whole, I believe, is huge. It's huge. I hope I didn't overtalk.
So, like you said, we're out to help everybody help themselves. Like, we're not going to tell that anybody they need to do this or they need to do that. They need to find it themselves. Once you get your mindset, like because as long as I was doing drugs, I was quitting them. I could quit anytime. It didn't matter. But I couldn't. And I think one of my daughters seen that I was really ready this time, and she called Posada and everything. And that 13 days clean, I put my mind, I was mindset. That was it. I was done. I wasn't going back anymore. And, and it's been my 13-day start is now over 2 years now. But like she said, it's just different. Like, I actually was facing a probation violation too. And, I was trying to plead with the judge. Could I just go to jail for like 3 months, be done? And she said you could go for 365 days or do MRT, moral recognition therapy. So I said, oh, all right, I'll do MRT. And it got, it made me think of like, I was dealt a shitty hand, I was adopted and whatever have you, but I didn't have any right to do the stuff I did. That was my own business and I don't know. You just got to get headstrong. Once your mindset to stay clean, it's a go. And there's so many people that's going to help you stay mindset strong.
I really resonate with that. And it's another one of the people in our program who talks about it has to be a 100% decision. It's like, doesn't matter if the dog dies. It doesn't matter if, somebody steals your truck. It doesn't matter if you, lose your job. It doesn't matter if somebody gifts you with the best stuff available on the street right now. Mm-hmm. You say no. Mm-hmm. Like, no. So that headstrong leads to heartstrong. And it's really beautiful. Okay. Another question from the masses. What is the hardest part of recovery? And is there anything your loved ones can do to support you through that part?
I think the hardest part is coming to grips with all the mistakes that you've done and all the letdowns that you've accumulated in your life, which is a lot. Um, things that you look back at yourself that, like now, the things some stuff I did, I'm like, I can't even imagine even thinking about doing that now or anything like that. But like I said, my kids have always showed me love, and so I'm very lucky that I didn't have to go through the judgmental of families and stuff like that. And I think their love, even though I disappointed them many times, I think that their love just unconditionally just grew inside of me. Like I need to change because I'm lucky. I've seen people turn their backs on their kids, turn their backs on their parents, turn their backs on their grandparents. And, don't turn your backs on them. I mean, I know it's hard. It's frustrating when they steal from you and they lie to you and this and that, but it's not them. It's not them personally. It's, the addiction that's making them do that. But just stay strong for your people and love them.
Again, I think this varies from person to person to person. So I know for my stigma piece, I talked about support and finding that person for yourself, and who that person is and which area they could support you in. Family can't necessarily, well, my nephews and my niece can, but like my mom, which is the only parent I have, is not very understanding of mental health or addiction. She's stuck on those stigma pieces, and that means there's something wrong with me means there's something wrong with her, right? That's a reflection of her as a mother, which is so far from the truth. But so education is a huge piece, I think, for family, coming to a place of understanding. The hardest part for me was just coming to peace with myself. Like she said, coming to grips with the things that you did. So for me, it wasn't necessarily the things that I did, but just being okay in my own skin. So SI is not something, suicidal ideation isn't something that I necessarily struggle with on a regular basis. There had been years that I hadn't struggled with it. And then I think over COVID period, I had a little setback with it, but I had support from work, people I worked with, right? And who understand, and they work with this stuff every day. And so I knew what support I could turn to at that time. The emotional roller coaster the first year or two was also one of the hardest things when first getting into recovery. So forgiving of self, coming to peace with self. When you're at peace with self, you're at peace with everybody else around you. It doesn't bother you as much what the next person is doing. And then knowing who your supports are. Family, just that educational piece, which is also what us peers do, helping mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters understand what their loved one is going through and how to be a support of that, but also getting support themselves because they're hurting too. Even though they're not the one struggling with substance abuse, they suffer a lot. And so they get stuck in their pain sometimes, and they need that support too. So.
Danita, we did some work earlier this year with young people.
That was serious.
With, 10, 11, 12-year-olds to 16, 17. And I think there's probably a lot of people that would think it was their substance use, but it was their loved ones, their parents or their grandparents or their brothers and sisters were using, and they were left to kind of clean it up and keep things, static. What can we tell young people who are living with adult substance misuse? Where can they turn?
Well, why resources are very limited for youth, which is the sad part. I think that's something that we're all working towards. our next big projects, right? Is to helping youth, but just remembering that it's not your fault. While we all see how fast they had to grow up because of mother or father's substance use. My dad was a substance user as well, and I piqued my curiosity quite a bit. But turning to places like the crisis living room or going to your neighborhood. We were at the Boys and Girls Ranch, and they were comfortable speaking about their trauma and their experiences. And so learning how much of a safe place that is. If you're struggling with a family member or mother or father who's using, there's community resources such as the Boys and Girls Club. Even here at the library, there's people here, the director here, she's worked in mental health. I believe if you've turned here that they would definitely guide you through the right place. Us at Health Solutions, me on the street, I don't even care if I'm not working. If you see me on the street, I'm definitely going to provide support. Using the hotlines, the crisis hotlines. Everybody hears the word crisis and they think they have to be in this huge panic. Crisis looks different for everybody. So even if you feel like it's silly or it's small, to still utilize those phone numbers and call and just say, I need help. I need somebody to talk to. What would you say, Anne? Where would you direct them?
The
What
same.
would you tell them?
I think it's the same. You know, try and find maybe a family member that you can confide in, and you know, let them know how you feel, and you know, hopefully they can listen to you and understand and want to help you too, to help you realize that it's not your fault at all, and get the help that you need. The library, the Boys and Girls Club, you know, the school counselor, you know, just it's not your fault, and God willing, there is a family member that can help open doors for you for resources.
That project was really, really, really hard, I think, on us. when they opened up, we were just like, we need to make more time afterwards to sit with you guys for a while and just check in with these individuals one-on-one and let them know that you have the support. Sometimes just finding that friend down the street or a neighbor. My neighbor now doesn't have a lot of, her family comes to visit her every once in a while, but daily support. She's an elderly lady, and she made friends with me right away as soon as we moved in, as soon as we bought the house, and my kids go to visit her and we cook her dinners. And sometimes it's your neighbor that can be your best support. So of course you have to be careful if you're a child. Don't go just lingering into strangers' yards. I guess that could go two ways. Good and bad advice. Okay.
Be like, well, Danita told me to.
Yeah,
Danita on Facebook
all
said.
liability right there.
No, that's really true. I think it's that trusted adult, and it can be an older sibling, it could be an aunt, an uncle, it can be someone more professional like a counselor, or but finding that one trusted adult can really make a difference, to just know you're not alone, never alone, and bottom line, it's not your fault. And that if you had the power to stop them from using, it would have already happened. So, you know, understand that. So, my friends, this project has been called Your Words Have Power. Let's Share Hope. So, when was the first time you felt hopeful in your process of recovery or use?
I think, so I have an interview on YouTube out of an agency in Canyon City, and when I sat with you at Mineral Palace Park, I think in all reality, even though I was doing these classes through CCAR and everything like that, I think seeing my poster right here gave me like pride. Like, you know, I made a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of bad choices, but you know what? That's not even who I am right now. Like, I've came so far, and I'm super proud of myself.
Me too. I'm so proud of you.
And so I think through this and people's letting me tell my story has gave me a lot of hope to help others. You mean, and I'm just really excited to just see how far I can go. Because I'm gonna be a business owner too.
And you are. Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Hope. I think I've lived in hope my whole life, but what do you do with hope? I think is the right question for myself. That was different this last time compared to all the other times I had a glimpse of hope. I had hope for myself after getting out of treatment when I was 15 or 16. Then I got pregnant with my son and he passed away. We've talked about that, Barbara. And I had to get him cremated, and I did all that alone. And so then I lost hope, and I went back to the dope game for 7 years straight, and I did not grieve my son for 7 years straight. And then after that, I just didn't think hope was a thing anymore. But then I went to prison. I woke up tired, right? Like I've said, went to prison, turned myself in, went to prison, and got 8 with a 6. So now I'm sitting in this jail cell again. And mind you, I grieved my son in a jail cell in Texas. I was pretty much forced to have to deal with my feelings, which was very beneficial for me. But it did not restore my hope. When I got clean this last time, I said, well, now I'm hopeful because now I'm tired. So there's my hope again. Maybe there is something more for me in life. Because I would have never turned myself in before. No. So that gave me a glimpse of hope. But it was, Dad, that's great. You've had this before. So what are you going to do with it? And so you have a lot of time, but you have a lot of access to things in jail and in prison. And so I did a lot of studying on what I could do career-wise with the felonies that I have. Can't be a nurse because I have dope charges. I have distribution charges, and I have some serious charges. I have some serious charges on my record. So that don't even allow me to work at a 7-Eleven. Can't even work at a 7-Eleven because I have burglary charges. Like just crazy stuff like that. And so you start thinking, well, I can't even land a job when I get out. So you start losing your hope again. But I started looking into the state stuff and realized Dora, at some point in their life, realized that we all deserve to have a job, and who better yet to be able to work in the field of mental health and addiction than somebody who's struggled with it, right? And so, and they don't frown upon those felonies at all. They do some, but not all of them, and not mine. And that the process is just longer. So as long as I could hold on to the process, it was okay. That when I learned that I could be an addiction counselor, which I'm not, I decided to go a different way. But that really gave me hope that there was going to be life after prison, and that I wasn't going to have to revert back to selling drugs and stuff again to make money or to have a home to stay in or any of those things. So I think Jessica's trying to get your attention.
I can like 5 minutes.
15.
I'll make it by 10. So
Okay. So maybe we will show you some resources by switching to a PowerPoint. And we'll advance twice. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So on your screen right now, you will see some resources, and they are all on the Pueblo Department of Public Health and Environment's webpage. There is an A to Z directory, this first one, and you go to Prevent Substance Misuse, and it is rich in content. Every presentation that we've done in the last 2 years is there. as well as a treatment roadmap, a personal choice guide, which helps you make decisions that are really value-based, things that you believe in, and therefore more sustainable. The second link is this exhibit. Your words have power. Let's share hope. There is a virtual home on our website, and there are 13 additional storytellers. And each one of these gracious people agreed to be recorded. So we have a voice recording of the initial interview, as well as the images and the storyboards that we've been traveling with as an art exhibit. And I really encourage you to spend some time on that page. And then if these folks have done additional training with us, additional presentations, there's a link to that there as well. If you like somebody's vibe and somebody's voice and somebody's perspective, you can get a little bit more of it there. And this treatment roadmap is a document that highlights local resources. I don't know if it's possible to open it. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Yay.
So sweet.
We'll be on there soon enough too.
It is actually like a roadmap. It is a multicolored map that you can identify where you are. Are you pregnant and using? Do you have a loved one with a substance use disorder? And then what those options are. And it's a two-sided form. So it's a lot of contact information, program information, and a little bit of glossary for you to identify what your options are. I encourage you, if you have questions and we haven't been able to answer them for you today, type them in the chat, and I will check back in with our friends here at the library and make sure that we get some answers for you. So thank you so much to our friends here at Patrick Lucero Library. Thank you so much for the graciousness, the vulnerability, the courage from our storytellers. And thank you, audience, for spending some of your valuable time learning more about stigma and how to be a stigma buster. Thank you, everyone.